Hello, and thank you for joining me in this video. So as you can see, I am building this, on the lot name is in the top corner, and you can see it's still listed as a national park, but it will be changed to be residential before it is posted on the gallery. But in any case, the inspiration behind this build was I wanted to build something different from what I normally build. I'm not really good at using the landscape tools. I'm not really good at making really intricate builds. My specialty is just making modern builds, and I also like using CC. So I wanted to challenge myself to do something that was outside of my comfort zone, and you'll see me struggling quite a bit to make it work. But I think that the end result is actually quite spectacular, so I'm excited to be sharing that with you today. At this point, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do in this little corner area of the porch, and eventually I'm just going to get rid of that little awkward space that's between the two roofs, and I think that it worked out better. And one of the features, because I was looking up some inspiration photos, and one of the features I wanted to do was kind of have it be on a split level, which is also something that I'm not good at doing, but this actually was more successful than my past attempts. The levels were connecting quite naturally. One of the reasons why I don't like using the landscaping tools is because it is so difficult to get the two different levels to connect. And so you'll see that there are two separate buildings and they're on two separate levels. I think that there is a way to make it so that two different buildings, like, how can I say? You can have a building that's on a different level that is actually connected to the building on the upper level. I think there's a way to do that, but I don't know anything about that, so I won't be doing anything like that here. And one of the features of the inspiration photo that I was using was that there is a nice curved like driveway like leading up to the building, but I recognized as I was trying that this lot is actually too small for that. If I had chosen a 64 by 64 lot, it would be better. But you know, you deal with the constraints that you're given based on whatever it is. I'm sorry. My attempts at using the landscape tool is quite funny. Now that looking back on it, I'm like, wow, I really did struggle quite a bit. But anyway, as you can see now, I'm changing the lot type and saving just in case. And from here, I'm actually going to be putting a lot of rocks, just rocks after rocks after rocks. And it's incredibly tedious. And also there's a 5-layer, how can you call this, of the build by items. It's up 5 layers, so you can barely see what I'm doing. So I think I'll skip ahead on this part. All right, so I just got a little bit of the, how do you call it, flooring down in the front. And about the driveway, I wanted to make sure that the, how do you call it, the actual, I can't think of the name of it. The flooring, it's not called flooring if it's outside, right? The tile, I guess. I wanted that to match the same kind of landscaping like paint tool as the walkway that leads up. It was supposed to be a driveway, but it doesn't work as a driveway, I'm sure. So I just changed it into a walkway, like a path with some stairs later on. But I wanted it to match. But at the same time, I wanted to use that paint tool. So I was kind of going back and forth between, okay, do you want to change the paint tool to match one of the tiles in the game? Or do you want to just make it a painted path? And then eventually I decided to go with the painted path. But I was thinking about it. So, and also my build style is kind of chaotic. I'm always all over the place. So I always want to make sure that whatever it is that I'm building is like well-rounded, no matter what I'm trying to do. So instead of just working in, if I'm making a build like this, like a really big build, instead of just working in one area, I like to skip around and see how things are coming along in other areas of the house before I complete a different area of the house. And then after that, I'll decide on the floor plan. And then after that, then that's when I'll do the, how do you call these things? The interior. And I also don't like to put windows up before I do the interior, even though I know that most buildings come with the windows already in place. And this is just because I can. Like, yeah, this is not real life, so I can do whatever I want, right? So if I want to, however it is that I want to adjust the exterior, after I've already started the interiors, however I want to do it, right? But I understand that in real life, you would want to make sure that, the exterior, I think in most cases the exterior is already done and you're just sort of going with the flow. All right, so as you can see, I'm trying to figure out what I want the exterior to look like. I didn't want it to look too fancy, even though the interior is quite fancy. I wanted it to look like a kind of home that was pre-existing, and that the people who moved in were not necessarily keen on matching the exterior style with the interior style. The interior style is kind of a mix between like modern and more traditional styles. So you'll see that there's an interesting mix of both curved furniture and more straight or like austere kind of furniture, which I thought was quite nice. But in terms of getting the front area to look nice, I wanted to try using more of these live edit like objects, especially if I was going to use the terrain paint. So I was kind of experimenting which one I wanted to do, but very quickly I found this interesting little wall that also comes with this world. So it's quite nice to use the farm pack. I can't remember the name of the world. I can never think of the names of things when I'm in the middle of something else. But I thought that it fit quite nicely. It gives you more than one size of this little wall, and I thought that it basically fit almost perfectly. It does have a little bit of overlap, but the overlap is basically equal everywhere, so I liked that. So I decided to just go along with that. And I also wasn't, the game, for some reason, I don't know what happened. I don't think that I pressed any buttons and I couldn't undo what happened, but the game just completely deleted the entire terrain paint. And I was like, why would you do that to me? Why would you do that to me? So, but I didn't necessarily want to repaint the path. I had to anyway, but I was going to match the paint to the walkway in any case, so I just did it all at the same time. And I forgot what I was about to say, which is unfortunate because that distracted me because the memories came back. Oh, I remember. So in the very front here, you'll see that there's lots of beautiful green plants where you might expect there to be some space for people to like relax or chill out on the lawn. Maybe some lawn furniture, maybe something, some kind of feature like a fountain or something like that. But I decided that this, how can I say, the people that I imagine living here are not people who entertain in that way. There will be a guest room on the inside, but that guest room is for like people they know, like family or something like that. Like I don't assume that these people are big on entertaining. They may have family meals. They may have like maybe a couple in the family over every once in a while. But this is not like a party like home or anything like that. So I would assume that these people really did prefer to live out in a green area and a green space, and that they do appreciate the beauty of nature, and that's why they would choose to live in this kind of neighborhood, and that's why they would choose to live in this kind of home that is surrounded by so much nature. But it doesn't necessarily like translate in terms of like, oh, there's so many activities to do outside of the house. And there is a pool, and there will eventually be a gym in that little building that's off to the side there. But, again, it's not really for entertainment. It's for, the enjoyment of nature. And at first I didn't like the way that these rocks looked. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. But the more that I worked on it by putting in this greenery, by letting it look like it's not necessarily a mountain per se that they're living on. It gives the vibes. But basically where they are, like these weeds, these plants, all this greenery is kind of poking through the rocks. And I thought it made it look very complete. Like for some, like I literally got like a dopamine rush when I was doing it. I was like, oh my God, it actually doesn't look so bad. So it really, for me personally, it really needed all of that green. And this was probably the most fun part for me. It was just basically, it's like a puzzle. It's like, okay, well, how can I fill this space and how can I fill this space? I wanted it to look natural. So for example, those trees didn't look very natural. So I immediately got rid of them and used the same trees on the other side, and got rid of all the little clipping issues there. And the tool mod was incredibly useful. Is incredibly useful for this kind of build. If you don't use it, I highly recommend it. I feel very intimidated by it. I'm still not very good at it, but I find it I find that builds that can properly utilize them are some of the best builds that you can find on the gallery. So excuse me, it is highly recommended. All right, so in any case, we have moved into the interior, and for me, I think the foyer is usually the weakest area of the house because it's the very first thing that I do, and typically by the time I'm done doing everything else, I'm like, the foyer definitely doesn't match anything else in the house because I always just start just doing something like very basic. I guess it's kind of like testing the waters or just trying to sort of warm up like before jumping into it. But it's definitely not the most, how can I say, exciting area of the house. And one of the things I wanted to carry throughout the house was the use of shelving. So you'll notice in several rooms there are these great opportunities to have these shelves. But the problem is I decided to not use CC, and I wasn't thinking about that before I started putting the design in. But then basically as soon as I started looking through the catalog, I'm like, oh, that's right, the game doesn't have literally any clutter. Because one of my favorite things to do in this game is just use a crap ton of clutter. I love clutter so much. Anyway, so in this little area here is, I wasn't sure what I wanted that area back there to be. And at first I was thinking it was going to be a kitchen. But as you can see, that dark stuff there was giving me the flux, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not dealing with all that dark stuff. I'm not exactly sure like what causes it. I tried taking the platform out and it didn't help. It didn't help resolve the issue. It was really quite annoying, but I decided to just ignore it, and instead of making this area the kitchen, I just made it the dining room, and I think it turned out fine enough. So in this area you'll see more of a traditional like style. You'll see a very like beautiful big dining room with enough tables, obviously, enough chairs to do some entertaining just in case the family comes over for a holiday or something like that. But I imagine that this area would be very, how can you call it, remote, and it doesn't seem very accessible by very many people. So besides some family members like carpooling there, I don't imagine, as I said before, that they would have very many visitors. So they're just a very peaceful home, a very I don't want to say empty home, because like I said, I like clutter and I like a home to look quite lived in. Of course, when you're doing a modern build, minimalism is usually optimal to make it look nice. But at the same time, I like a home to look lived in. But this home, there's no children or anything like that. So it's not going to have a very inviting vibe. It's just going to have a very stock photo-ish kind of vibe. But still nice nevertheless. So there's this little big area over here, and I was kind of going back and forth about what I wanted to do with it, and I just decided in the end to make it like a little seating area. And again, with the idea that every now and again they'll have maybe a neighbor or two over, and they want a nice little space to say hi, have tea, or something like that. But nothing more than that. And this is just fleshing out the entrance just a little bit more, making sure that I have some of those little items that you would expect to see in an entryway. And then moving on over here, I wanted to have a nice little feature area. And I think in the beginning I had assumed that there would be an office or something back there. But because I couldn't put the kitchen where I wanted to put the kitchen, and then I couldn't put the dining room where I wanted to put the dining room, I decided to just make this area one really huge kitchen. And even though you don't entertain, there's always a chance that there's a person who, like I said, loves looking at those pictures of like really big like kitchens, and so they imagine like what it would be like, to have such a big spectacular kitchen. But I imagine now most of these cabinets are just completely empty, or else they're just filled with how do you call it? Like, those cabinets are filled with china, but china that nobody ever uses. So it's just like, for no reason, just fill up with china. But in any case, I like these island curtains. They're just some of the most convenient curtains to use, especially when you don't have any CC that you can rely on. They're just easy, and they usually fit over windows very nicely. I don't think that they fit the decor so great, but that's the limitation when you cannot use a bigger variety of items. And I don't have all the packs in the game, and that also limits me. But yeah, for me, I don't really miss what I don't have, to be honest. I don't really, I know that there's a big sale going on right now. I think as of recording, it's probably still going on, or maybe it just ended. I'm not sure. But even the prices that they're offering, I wasn't really interested in. So perhaps closer to Christmas time, if they have a better sale, I might get something. But yeah, I'm not really dying to pick up any new packs at the moment. And so in any case, I'm just putting a little bit of clutter around the kitchen just to make it look like it's kind of lived in. And again, this little area here was meant to be part of some kind of office or something like that, but I thought that it wouldn't work with the new layout that I had to go with because of the weird shadow issue in the area that now is the dining room. And then once again, just filling out the little areas there. I think that would be a good place to put a pantry, but I already put the fireplace there, so there was no place to actually like go inside. But on the other hand, when I build builds like this, I don't usually make pantries, and sometimes I do because I just think it makes the house look a lot nicer. But I decided not to do that this time, and I just made like a little extra area, kind of just off the kitchen. Probably it's a nice place to go where they keep their snacks or whatever, and they can make a really quick snack. They probably have like the popcorn machine or the ice cream maker over there with an outlet that's really convenient to use. That's what I imagine that area is like. And so we have this little area here, which is another, well, basically it is the actual like living room. And again, I wanted it to have a kind of a nice mix of both a modern and a traditional style. To where it doesn't look exactly like it fits how do you call it? The location so much, but more so what you would see like in a magazine. And so I think that this couple, whoever lives here, is very much interested in replicating styles that they would see in a magazine, or replicating, the kind of design, ideas that they would get searching through like Instagram or something like that. And so this was the inspiration like behind the style that is going on in here. So there are some kind of mixed styles, and I like using these little what do you call these plants? I don't even know what you call those plants. I don't know, but I like them. You can see that they're going to be kind of in almost every room. I just really like them. They're so adorable. And so I always want to make sure that there's at least one skill that Sims can do in the house besides like fitness. I think fitness is one of the most ubiquitous ones. And I don't always use musical instruments. So I decided in this case that having there be a large piano there would be something that the Sims could occupy their time with. And so moving on to the exterior, even just a little bit, I decided that I wanted to have it be very minimal, just one little area for them to come outside and sit and perhaps enjoy the mountain air, but nothing too spectacular. Yeah, and again, this is me like reevaluating, okay, does this match the other areas of the house? No, it doesn't. All right, let me make a few changes so that it doesn't look so disjointed, the entrance. All right, so moving on here, as you can see, we're going to do the little spa. It's not a spa, it's like a little gym. There was a part of me that wanted to make it on 2 levels, but then I thought it's not necessary. So I just deleted the ceiling on the first floor and the flooring on the first floor, on the second floor, and then added these lights. I wish that you can make them longer if possible. The game doesn't have that many lights that extend from the second floor to the first floor, but that would have been nice. And this is me trying to do something interesting with these cabinets because I really want the open shelf look, but I don't want those 2 little things to be sticking out at the bottom. And there's also a weird shadow at the bottom, and I couldn't resolve it. So I decided to just use shelves. That was unfortunate because in my mind it looked really nice, but it didn't turn out the way that I thought it was going to turn out. Okay, so putting just a little bit of clutter on these shelves, just so that it looks a little bit more complete. But yeah, the game is the game has a lot of clutter if you are not a person who builds very often. But like once you build a few builds, then you'll realize you're just using the same items over and over again, and that can be a little frustrating. But if you have the fitness pack, the spa day. Maybe this is spa day, these items here. Yeah, definitely spa day. It's not the fitness pack. Then you'll enjoy this room. All right, and making sure that everything has the same roofing style, which is very important, not to be missed. And we'll continue on to the second floor. Now, I actually skipped a lot of the second floor because I just thought it wouldn't be as interesting. So you'll see the master suite, but you won't see the guest room, you won't see the hall, you won't see the little laundry room or like the sitting area of the second floor, but you'll see them in the final walkthrough. which I hope will suffice. And so I wanted there to be a big closet, and I wasn't exactly sure how I wanted the furniture to stack up. But again, this is the kind of idea of somebody who, is flipping through magazines and thinking, wow, I want a walk-in closet, even though I don't have that many clothes. It's just that kind of thing, sometimes you just want to emulate. I can't say the word, but I think you know what I mean. Something instead of, actually doing something that is 100% functional. This is what I imagine is going through the mind of the people who live here. And I wanted to make a nice, interesting feature of a step-up bath in here, but it kept breaking the room and letting the roof poke through, and that was frustrating, so I just decided to go with the traditional style. And I like this bath. I can picture how much better it would be if I had been able to use some of the CC that I have. But I wasn't able to do that because I wanted to make sure that I could post this on the gallery for everybody to use. And yeah, sometimes working with limitations can be fun because it kind of pushes you to challenge yourself to do something that you don't normally do, or it allows you to try things that you usually don't try. And also another benefit is that the items load so much faster. Like if I want to type and find an item, you can find it almost immediately. But if you have a lot of content in your game, sometimes it just freezes for a relatively long time, considering you don't have much time to, finish your work. And so there's also a guest bath that's off to the side. You can see it there. But this is the master suite bath. And I wanted to put, how can I say, some kind of shelving unit there. But in the end, I just decided to go with that. So for the master bedroom, I wanted to try something different. And I always want to try to use platforms, but again, the platforms tend to do something funky. I'm not sure if it's my computer. I'm not sure if it's the game. I'm not sure if it's because I have CC installed, but it tends to be more frustrating than it does rewarding. So it's not going to be as interesting a floor plan as I wanted. But another thing that I did that I think is super funky, and I'm not exactly like 100% happy with it, but I just wanted to try it. I have these windows on these two levels because it's basically open to the ceiling up on the second floor. Or I should say the third floor, because we're on the second floor now. And what I would prefer are curtains that go from the top floor to the bottom floor, but I couldn't make that happen because they don't exist in the game, I guess. Or else they don't look right when you try to connect them because they all have curtain rods. That's a bit frustrating. But so it looks super funky. If you are thinking to yourself, what is she thinking? What is she doing? Hey, I was thinking the same exact thing, okay? I had a vision and it did not come to fruition. That's the unfortunate part. And I did add a few more features in this master bedroom before sort of stopping, or after I stopped recording. There was something else I wanted to do, and I had forgotten to do it, and I went back in and finished it up. So you'll see in the little shots of when it's finished, it might look a little different from what you just saw. But in any case, we're going to very soon jump into the finished walkthrough. And there we have a few exterior shots. We're just flying by, zoom. And I think that it fits into the atmosphere of this world so perfectly. It looks like it is just plopped right down inside with absolutely no interrupt in the landscape, which is great. Okay, so here we are basically looking around on the first floor. This is the dining room, very simple, and into the kitchen, very beautiful, rich colors. Carrying on those rich colors into the living room. Going down into the fitness area, so you can go swimming or you can work out. Very nice. I love having mirrors in like that. It's so nice. The under cabinet lighting is also very nice. Okay, so this is heading back up into the house and then up to the second floor. The little seating area. This is the guest room, which I didn't show. I apologize. I think it's really, really nice though. And this is out on the balcony on the one side. Here's the guest bathroom. Very simple. And the laundry room going towards the master suite. The walk-in closet. Even though they don't have enough clothes. It's so funny. Okay, in the master bath. The only thing I don't like is that little cabinet. I wish I could have, there's like a CC I had in mind to use there. I'm probably going to replace it. And the little study area inside the little master bedroom is very nice as well. All right, so we're seeing the drop down view, second floor, and the first floor. Very nice, very simple floor plan. And if you lived here, this is the kind of view that you could look forward to. Very, very, very beautiful atmosphere. I would love to live here. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you again in another video.